Facebook. Apostle Jeffrey here with your heavenly moment. And we are talking about the age of Jesus, or Jesus the ageless. What am I talking about? We're talking about this. Let's go over to Matthew 5. Let's look at verse 17. Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them. So when you take a look at this portion of Scripture, we need to come to this understanding. Jesus lived underneath the old covenant. He lived underneath, and the dispensation or the time period of which he lived, he had to live in confines to the law. He came to fulfill the law so you and I would be set, or that we would, through him, be able to be deemed as those that have fulfilled the law as well. We were taken out from under the law and put under the law of the Spirit. To get us there, he had to be the gap that went between the old and the new. And so, a lot of times what we do is we look at what Jesus did, we look at what he said in his age, in the time or the age of Jesus. We look at this position of where he lived when he was here in the flesh, and then we do what he did, only it doesn't work for doctrine, number one, in a lot of ways. So, for example, we'll say, devil, get behind me. One day I said this, devil, get behind me, and the Lord said, that's fantastic. You made him somebody else's problem. He said, why don't you deal with him accordingly? So where Jesus said, Satan, get behind me, when he was speaking to Peter, in his dispensation or the age that he lived in, that's what he could do with Satan at that time. But he said, later on, he said, I will build my church, and upon my church, or upon this rock, the gates of hell shall not prevail. So we find out that in this dispensation, at this age, we don't tell the devil to get behind us. We send the devil to hell where he belongs. We are throwing him out. And so what Jesus did back then, we don't necessarily do what he did back then. We have to understand the age where Jesus lived and what he lived under versus what he has accomplished and given us to live under. So this is great food for thought, and this is your heavenly moment. Consider these things before you find yourself in a religious, and I'm going to call it a religious frenzy, because what ends up happening is we can trap ourselves in the age that he was at with certain doctrine that just isn't even applicable to us in these days. God bless you.